Welcome back to the DECAMERON Project. I'm Carmen-maria Manley of Tennessee Shakespeare Company. Today's date, April 28th, 2020. Today's theme is courage. In 1896, on this day, Hye-sok was born in Korea. She was a painter and a poet, very outspoken for her time, relied a lot on her opinions of gender equality and women's rights, a feminist in her own right. She also got divorced, which in Korean culture was worthy of the ultimate shame. She was imprisoned years later when she marched against Japanese rule, and she wrote this after she was released from prison for that act. I suffered indescribable restrictions, constraints, detention, and punishment. Still, I managed to come up with such ingenious tricks as writing a message with my fingernail on a piece of rag torn out of my clothes and throwing it outside the prison during the physical exercising period. These direct personal experiences convinced me that where there is a will, nothing is impossible. This idea, which was engraved in my mind, has been dominating my whole life. In 1983, Alice Walker won the book award for The Color Purple. In The Color Purple, we meet Celie, who endures undescribable abuses from her father and her husband. What we also see in The Color Purple is the relationship that Celie has with the women in her life. And this is going to be an excerpt from The Color Purple towards the end of the book, where Celie is reunited with the love of her life, her sister Nettie, and she gets to meet her two grown children for the first time. Celie gets to meet her two grown children for the first time. Dear God, dear stars, dear trees, dear sky, dear peoples, dear everything, dear God, thank you for bringing my sister Nettie and our children home. Wonder who that coming up yonder? Asked Albert, looking up the road. Us can see the dust a-flyin'. Could be the mailman, I say. Except he driving a little fast, so could be Sophia, says Shug. You know she drive like a maniac. Could be Harpo, say Albert, but it not. By now, the cars stop under the trees in the yard, and all these peoples dressed like old folks get out. A big, tall, white-haired man with a backward-turned white collar, a little dumpty woman with her gray hair in plaits across the top of her head, a youngish man and two robust-looking youngish women. The white-haired man says something to the driver of the car, and the car leave. They all stand down there at the edge of the drive, surrounded by boxes and bags and all kinds of stuff. By now, my heart is in my mouth, and I can't move. It's Nettie, Albert say, getting up. All the people down the drive look at us. They look at the house, the yard, Shug and Albert's cars. They look around those fields. They commence to walk real slow up to the walk house. I'm so scared, I don't know what to do. I feel like my mind's stuck. I try to speak, nothing come. Try to get up, almost fall. Shug reach down and give me a helping hand. Albert press me on the arm. When Nettie's foot come down the porch, I almost die. I stand swaying between Albert and Shug. Nettie stands swaying between Samuel, and I reckon it must be Adam. Then us both start to moan and cry, us totter toward one another like us used to when we was babies. Then us feel so weak when we touch us knock each other down. But what us care? I just sit and lay there on the porch inside each other's arms. After a while she say, Celie. I say, Nettie. Little bit more time pass, us look round a lot of people's knees. Nettie never let go of my waist. This and my husband Samuel, she say, pointing up. These are children, Olivia and Adam. And this is Adam's wife, Tashi, she say. I point up at my peoples. This Shug and Albert, I say. Everybody say pleased to meet you. Then Shug and Albert start to hug everybody one after another. Me and Nettie finally get up off the porch, and I hug my children, and I hug Tashi, and then I hug Samuel. Also on this date, in 1926, Harper Lee was born in Alabama. Harper Lee we know best for To Kill a Mockingbird, which I'm going to read a little passage from. The courageous antics of children. I'll swap you the gray ghost if you just go up there and touch the house, Jem brightened. Touch the house? That's all? Dill nodded. Sure, that's all now. I don't want you hollering something different the minute I get back. Yeah, that's all, said Dill. He'll probably come out after you when he sees you in the yard, then Scout and me'll jump on him and hold him down until we can tell him we ain't gonna hurt him. We left the corner, crossed the street that ran in front of the Radley house, and stopped at the gate. We'll go on, said Dill. Scout and me's right behind you. I'm going, says Jem. Don't hurry me. He walked to the corner of the lot, then back again, studying the simple terrain, as if deciding how best to effect an entry, frowning and scratching his head. Then I sneered at him. Jem threw open the gate and sped up to the side of the house, slapped it with his palm, and ran back past us, not waiting to see if his foray was successful. Dill and I followed back on his heels. Safely onto our porch, panting and out of breath, we looked back. The old house was the same, droopy and sick, but as we stared down the street, we thought we saw inside a shutter move. Flick. A tiny, almost invisible movement, and the house was still. A courageous speech during Henry V. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard-favored rage. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. Follow your spirit. And upon this charge, cry, God for Harry, England, and St. George. We love you. Stay courageous. Bye for now.